Apophis is the great serpent, enemy of the sun god Ra, in ancient Egyptian religion. Apophis was the ancient Egyptian spirit of evil, darkness and destruction. As the arch-enemy of the sun god, Ra, he was a malevolent force who could never be entirely vanquished. Every night, as the sun traveled through the underworld, his roar would fill the air and he would launch his attack. Ancient Egyptian priests and lay people would engage in rituals to protect Ra and destroy Apophis and, through these observances, link the living with the dead and the natural order as established by the gods. Apophis never had a formal cult and was never worshipped, but he would feature in a number of tales dealing with his efforts to destroy the sun god and return order to chaos. Apophis is associated with earthquakes, thunder, darkness, storms, and death, and is sometimes linked to the god Set, also associated with chaos, disorder, storms, and darkness. Set was originally a protector god, however, and appears a number of times as the strongest of the gods on board the sun god's bark, defending the ship against Apophis. Although there were probably stories about a great enemy serpent earlier in Egypt's history, Apophis first appears by name in texts from the Middle Kingdom 2040 to 1782 BCE and is acknowledged as a dangerous force through the late period of ancient Egypt 525–332 BCE, especially, and on into the Ptolemaic period 323–30 BCE in Roman Egypt. Most of the texts which mention him come from the New Kingdom c. 1570 to 1069 BCE, including the one known as the Book of Overthrowing Apophis, which contains the rituals and spells for defeating and destroying the serpent. This work is among the best known of the so-called execration texts, works written to accompany rituals denouncing and cursing a person or entity which remained in use throughout ancient Egypt's history. Apophis is sometimes depicted as a coiled serpent but, often, as dismembered, being cut into pieces, or under attack. A famous depiction along these lines comes from Spell 17 of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, in which the great cat Mo kills Apophis with a knife. Mo was the divine cat, a personification of the sun god, who guarded the tree of life which held the secrets of eternal life and divine knowledge. Mo was present at the act of creation, embodying the protective aspect of Ra, and was considered among his greatest defenders during the New Kingdom of Egypt. Egyptologist Richard H. Wilkinson reprints an image in his book The Complete Gods and Goddesses of Ancient Egypt from the tomb of Anerkau at Deir el-Medina, in which Mo is seen defending the Tree of Life from Apophis as he slices into the great serpent's head with his blade. The accompanying text, from Spell 17 of the Book of the Dead, relates how the cat defends Ra and also provides the origin of the cat in Egypt. It was divinely created at the beginning of time by the will of the gods. In the story concerning Edom, Apophis has always existed and swam in the dark waters of undifferentiated chaos before the Benben, the primordial mound, rose from them. Once creation was begun, Apophis was angered because of the introduction of duality and order. Prior to creation, everything was a unified whole, but after, there were opposites such as water and land, light and dark, male and female. Apophis became the enemy of the sun god because the sun was the first sign of the created world and symbolized divine order, light, life, and if he could swallow the sun god, he could return the world to a unity of darkness. The version in which Neith creates the ordered world is similar but with a significant difference. Apophis is a created being who is given life at the same moment as creation. He is, therefore, not the equal of the earliest gods but their subordinate. In this story, Neith emerges from the chaotic waters of darkness and spits them out as she steps onto the Benben. Her saliva becomes the giant serpent who then swims away before it can be caught. When Neith was a part of the waters of darkness, as in the other tale, everything was unified. Now, though, there was diversity. Apophis' goal was to return the universe to its original, undifferentiated state. The Egyptians believed that all of nature was imbued with divinity, and this, of course, included the sun which gave life. Eclipses and cloudy days were concerning because it was thought the sun god was having problems bringing his ship back up into the sky. The cause of these problems was always Apophis, who had somehow gotten the better of the gods on board. The most powerful gods and goddesses would defeat the serpent in the course of every night, But during the day, as the sun god sailed slowly across the sky, Apophis regenerated and was ready again by dusk to resume the war. In a text known as the Book of Gates, the goddesses Isis, Neith, and Serket, assisted by other deities, capture Apophis and restrain him in nets held down by monkeys, the sons of Horus, and the great earth god JB, where he is then chopped into pieces. The next night, though, the serpent is whole again and waiting for the barge of the sun when it enters the underworld. Ape led an army of demons that preyed on the living and the dead. To defeat this malevolent force, a ritual known as Nishan Ape was conducted annually by the priests of Ra. An effigy of Ape was taken into the temple and imbued with all of the evil of the land. The effigy was then beaten, crushed, smeared with mud and burned. Other rituals involve the creation of a wax model of the serpent which was ritually dismembered and the burning of a papyrus bearing an image of the snake. The Book of Apophis is a collection of magical spells from the New Kingdom which were supposed to repel or contain the evil of the serpent. As the serpentine manifestation of chaos itself, Apophis' power is of apocalyptic proportions, and far surpasses that of any individual god. Thus, Apophis is, quite possibly, the most powerful being in all of Egyptian mythology. Only Ra comes close to holding his own against Apophis in a fight, but even he needed his lieutenant Set to help him fight the great serpent on equal terms. When returning to full power and confronted with an army of gods and magicians in the serpent's shadow, Apophis proved to be too powerful for them all to beat, even Ra. Powers of Apophis. Massive strength. Apophis has tremendous physical strength, far greater than that of any god, even Sobek, Set and Ra. It is highly likely that Apophis would have eventually defeated all of them, had the Cain siblings not execrated his shadow just in time. Durability. Apophis also has great extreme durability, healing, and endurance, as he was able to heal or withstand almost every blow he took in the serpent's shadow, with only the attacks of Ra being effective at temporarily disrupting the serpent's seemingly invulnerable form. Paralyzing gaze. Apophis also has the power to paralyze his foe when they look directly at him. However, this trick doesn't work on Ra, because the latter is too hot to handle. Reality splintering. Apophis can splinter reality and the duat into many layers to make multiples of himself to fight and divide his enemies, similar to the Set avatar, fighting all of them separately at once, making him harder to fight and defeat. Chaos generation. Apophis' very presence radiates chaos, and can cause an entire room to crumble. Possession. Apophis can also possess various beings, including demons, Baas and various monsters with even just a small amount of Ba. He is able to do this even from his prison. When he possesses Kwai with only a fraction of himself, Kwai's magical powers and lightning generation become tremendously increased, to the point that it took the combined effort of 4 gods Horus, Isis, Set, and Anubis to successfully overpower him, and even then, Kwai had enough energy to bring down the Hall of Ages. His ability to split his bond and possess others gives Apophis a limited level of omnipresence.